to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciate all that you do. I've listened to a couple of your episodes, so it's great.
Cool. Well, it's great. I really enjoy this album, Bridges. And I really, before we get into that, I want to know 4 years ago, we were trying to figure this pandemic out, wrapping our heads around the ramifications, everything about it. How did you end up making it through it as an artist? And how did it influence either this album or the way that you do things now?
Yeah, so the pandemic was a whirlwind. I have a 6-year-old daughter. She is born in 2018. So as you can tell, it was like right in the midst of all the craziness that was happening. And it was a wild time. I mean, it definitely put things into perspective. And I think for the rest of the world, I still think music is very important for everybody to obviously. And it's although I feel like it was sort of a back burner, so to speak, for a lot of people, and so it was really tough for us that love to play out and play in front of an audience. But there were other outlets, so companies or like organizations started popping up and asking us to do remote stuff, and hey, can you record this song and we'll feature it? So we did a couple of those, those kind of like everybody records their part at home and then you kind of put it all together. So I have a couple of those that I did. And then it was really great. There's a venue in San Francisco started to have live streams. And so we would go in ourselves all masked up and then you would go play and they would record it and then live stream it and then uh, treat it as like a regular gig. So it was kind of nice. I mean, you would play to nobody,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so it was definitely, I wouldn't want to go through it again. And it's amazing how much we've gone through. So many crazy things have happened these last few years, and but we survived.
We certainly did. And you got, this album that's come out. Talk to me a little bit about this album. What was kind of the artistic vision of this album, and how does it feel that it's out now?
Yeah, I'm really excited. So, the musicians that are on the album is Paul Ballenbeck on guitar and Byron Wookie Landum on drums. They were two-thirds of Joey DeFrancesco's original trio, and Joey is a hero of mine, or was, excuse me, a hero of mine. He sadly passed, and he and I became good friends before he passed away, and he featured me on his radio show, and we hung out. We were also both endorsing this organ called the Viscount, and that's like basically a new version of a Hammond B-3, a portable version. So we were at this booth, and we were able to. He would give me pointers and stuff like that, and I just wanted. I mean, I've been listening to Paul and Byron for so many years. I just wanted to really feel what it was like to play behind those two masters. I had actually recorded with, or not recorded, but I had played with Paul a few times. He came over to the Bay Area. And so we had some experience. And then Byron played at the San Jose Jazz Festival one year, and he came with a friend of mine, another guitarist. And so we were all, I had already known Byron. And when it came to this album, honestly, it was called Bridges because when I was sitting on the subway going home, I just recorded with these two masters, and I'm leaving Brooklyn, going back into the city, and just sitting there on the subway, just thinking I'm on this bridge and like, how far I've come, and as a basically a first generation Chinese American, playing the Hammond organ, in the path that I took. So a lot of these songs are kind of based on really important parts of my life. I have a song for my wife, Bonnie. I have songs that are kind of loosely based on a lot of um, i- songs or people that I really admire. And so, yeah, that's why I called it Bridges. And I'm really proud of it and really thankful to both Byron and Ball.
So, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Well, I hope they know that Hammond organ has such a rich tradition, and I'm still following that tradition in the way that a traditional jazz organist would, but then I'm trying to put my own spin on it. And I think that like nearly every, even if it's a standard, it's actually not reworked to what I feel like is an unlistenable experience, but just an experience to so people can really hear something unique and different about it.
So take me back to your beginnings. You really started playing professionally relatively early at 16. How did this love of jazz kind of take hold and become who you are today?
Yeah, well, yeah, I started very early, playing piano at age 5, and then I started student teaching at 16, and that's how I started playing in bands and stuff. I actually was student teaching for my teacher, and then he recommended I taught this one lady, and she said, "Hey, would you like to come play for my church?" And it was an African American Baptist church where all they had was an organ. And then after that, I was playing in rock bands. People would call me to play in rock bands. So, and what I really loved about jazz, growing up playing an instrument, and I see my daughter doing this now because she's taking piano lessons. It's just one-on-one, right? And you don't get a chance to communicate and share music with other musicians. But when it came to like playing in a band, playing in a church, playing jazz, especially, I mean, it's so much fun to play with different people. And that's what I love about the organ is, I used to sometimes play as a piano trio, piano, bass, and drums. But the finances of music is that like it's hard to get to pay over 3 people for a gig. And so now I could basically go out, play bass, because I play organ, and I could, play with a drummer and then also have either a sax player, a trumpet player, a guitar player, and the sound would still be quite full, or even a singer, So I've had a chance to do a lot of those kind of gigs where it's not just piano, bass, drums, and it still has that full sound, but it's like drums, organ, and another instrument.
So the first album that you had that came out in 2012, correct?
Correct.
So this was kind of a long time coming back to this album.
Yeah, definitely. It was too long. 2012, by the way, I don't know if you guys know Calvin Keys. He's a wonderful guitarist that played with Ahmad Jamal and Ray Charles, was featured on some of those albums, and he was on that first album. And then I just, to be honest with you, I got caught up in the playing. I was playing all the time, and I just never really set aside that time to like record. But now it's a focus of mine. I joked with Corey Weeds, who's the producer and the label head. I said, I'm ready for the next album.
So talk to me a little bit about the first live show you saw that blew you away, that made you think, this is something that I want to do with my life.
Yeah, gosh. Well, it's no longer here anymore. Well, there's a couple of things. One was this local club that's in San Jose. It's called the Headley. It was called the Headley Lounge, and it's in this hotel called the Dianza Hotel. And they used to have music Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I used to go down there just by myself, and it's like a big lobby lounge kind of a thing, and there would be a trio or a quartet playing. And I just remember going there and hearing them play music. And afterwards, this guitar player, who's this Rick Vandeveer, came up to me and he's like, "Oh, I heard you listening to the music. Thanks for checking it out." And I was just really, I thought it was amazing. Just like seeing that you could be basically expressing yourselves. And I had already played a lot of those songs, but just to hear how it's different and how it's changed, I thought that that was an amazing thing. And I'm like, oh wow, I really want to do, perform. But when I heard like the masters play the instrument, and the way like they had a hold on the audience, I remember there's this one great pianist. He was actually really young when I first saw him. His name was Eldar. He's a piano player, and I remember going there with my wife, and I was just like, wow, like just the mastery, but then the attention that all the audience has on you, and the fact that it's different every time. And then of course seeing Dr. Lonnie Smith and Joey DeFrancesco. Dr. Lonnie Smith was like amazing. I mean, the things that he was doing on the organ, off the organ, the way that it kind of like it was like a roller coaster of emotions. And my wife is not a musician, and so to hear her reaction too is amazing. Just to be like, oh yeah, that was moving. And
Yeah,
that's what
he
I
was.
like.
Yeah, he was amazing. I didn't see him live, but just interviewing him was like it was otherworldly. I mean, he was on a whole different plane.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got to meet him and hang out with him backstage and many times. He's such a jokester. He pretended to he shook hands with the people who were the proprietors of the concert. I was sitting backstage and he pretended to fall down and
Yeah.
pretended to step on his camera, the cameraman. And he was just a funny guy, but a really nice, genuine person. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's truly missed.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this. What do you like the best about being a professional musician? You've been doing this for a long time. What is it that you look forward to?
Yeah, performing is my favorite. Yeah, I just really love being on stage and the process of, hey, what are we going to play? I love that the spontaneity of it, even though it's practiced one way, it never goes that one way. There's so many different ways that you can go to. I love just sharing music in general, like recording CDs and having people from all over the world, listen to it and to contribute to an art form. I think it's just amazing. And then I love teaching and the traveling. I mean, being a musician is hard work, but it's definitely very rewarding. Like to get your way one day. I have a good friend who lives in Kansas City.
Oh yeah, you should. Yeah, do you know who Chris Hazleton is?
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
Yeah, he's always swinging, and I've covered him. He was one of my first interviews back in
Huh?
2012 when I started doing my interview series. I think it was Peregrine Nation was the album that he had that came out, and yeah, so and then
Oh,
Ken
one.
Laverne does a lot of work here
Yeah.
locally as well. So yeah, you would be very welcome on the Hammond, that's for sure. And otherwise, whatever you wanted to play.
Awesome. Yeah, play the Hammond 99% of the time. Really don't dabble in the others. I did make it out to 1 year to Omaha with Calvin Keys.
Okay.
And actually we had talked about we were gonna try to go to I guess it's called the Blue Room. I think
Yeah.
it's is there yeah, and we were, but then I mean, Calvin was a little bit on the older side, and I think that they were gonna have us drive, and he was like, "I don't want to drive." He's like, he just wanted to play the gigs in Omaha, and that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. So do you listen to KCSM, the radio station out there?
all the time. Grew
That's
up.
my station. I love it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a wonderful station. Pete Fallico is a good friend of mine. I don't know if
Oh yeah.
he and Chewy and yeah, I mean it's really amazing because you really get the sense of community. Like, I mean, I'll see the people at the gig, the DJs at the gigs, they're emceeing stages for jazz, for jazz festivals. They put on a jazz festival called Jazz on the Hill. It's
Okay.
like a 1 day, yeah, festival. So yeah, it's really great. And I think that's the unique thing about the jazz community, right? It's small, but then you have the larger ecosystem where everybody's kind of connected.
Yeah, a lot of support going on for sure. So I'm curious, why do you love jazz?
Yeah, the reason why I love jazz, and I think that I said touched on it earlier, is that it's different for everybody. Kind of like, I say this with whenever I talk to kids about like learning jazz, there's many ways, and I always equate it to basketball. There's a lot of ways to shoot a basketball into a hoop. Do you shoot like Steph Curry? Do you slam dunk like, Michael Jordan? And I think that's like if you listen to my album, I play this tune called Silver Serenade. And it's very different from what the original version is. It's more of in a funkier feel. Um, but I still feel like it's still jazz and we're still improvising and kind of playing off each other. And that's what I love about jazz. And the basically the how it can be different, and it can be interpreted many different ways. And that's kind of like, I feel like the way life is, life can be interpreted many ways, and where do you want to go with it?
For
Is
sure.
what you want to make of it.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one dream jazz show, where are you going?
That's it would be the band with, well, I'll be honest, like Joshua Redman is my one of my favorite musicians of all time. And his Mood Swings band, the one with Brad Meldau and Christian McBride and Brian Blade, I would love to see that one of those shows. Or I would like to see Joshua Redman, Samuel Hell, and Brian Blade play the Elastic Band.
Yeah.
Those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, but you run the show. What's your
Mhm.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Honestly, I think I am a family man first. I kind of say that, like, I have a wonderful daughter and wife, and just trying to juggle everything. I'm trying to get better as a jazz musician. Us musicians are just never stop learning, in terms of like what we can do with the instrument and how we can arrange things. But I would just want people to know that, I'm um, I don't want to say just humble, but I just really am like a lover of this music. It's just an appreciation for all the musicians who are doing this. And I think I have something to say on the Hammond organ, and I hope that they enjoy it.
So what's coming up for live shows, promoting the album? Anything on the horizon for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a couple of release Bay Area shows. I have a show in the San Jose Jazz Festival, and I have a show at also at the in San Francisco. I am doing a little bit of traveling. I'm going to be playing at the Detroit Jazz Festival, but that's with another great guitarist, Mimi Fox, her project.
Yeah.
Playing Monterey Jazz Festival as well too. And so, yeah, I'm also trying to book some other CD release concerts. And like I said, I'd like to get your way. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love it. So if anyone wants to pick up the new album, Bridges, where's the best place to pick it up? Find out anything more about what you're doing, where's the best place to go?
They can go on my website, brianho.net, BRIANHO.net, no E. People say that. And then you can order the album directly from me there, or you can go to Seller Live as a Bandcamp page as well. And then if you're streaming, you can do that. It's on all the streaming platforms. But like I said, I heard this the other day, if you order a CD of, streaming isn't great for us musicians, but if you do buy the album, you can stream guilt-free.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. I haven't heard that before. Brian, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. Best of luck. I'm glad that we ran into each other. I look forward to profiling you on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and hope to meet you in person one day.
Absolutely. And